This is NHTV2, North Haven Government Television, a service of North Haven Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the Town of North Haven.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mike Frieda, North Haven's first Selectman, and welcome to our May 7th Board of Selectmen meeting. I'm joined this evening via teleconference, our second Selectman, Mr. William Piper, and our third Selectwoman, Ms. Sally Boemi. Sally and Bill, would you please announce yourselves?
This is Sally Boemi, the third Selectman.
Okay.
And Mike and Sally, this is Bill Piper, the second Selectman.
Thank you, Sally and Bill, for joining us on this teleconference. Hopefully, in the coming months, we'll restore ourselves back to normalcy on these Board of Selectmen meetings and other town meetings. But for now, ladies and gentlemen watching, we have to make these adjustments, and I'm grateful that Sally and Bill are able to dial in here so we can have our meeting. Let's move to item number 3. I'm going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Sally and Bill, I pledge allegiance to the flag
of
of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, item number 4, the approval of the minutes of the Board of Selectmen meeting from March 5th.
I'll move the approval of those minutes.
Okay.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for that vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Item number 5, approval of the minutes of the Special Board of Selectmen meeting of April 22nd.
I'll move the approval of those minutes.
Okay. We have a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Sally. Thank you, Bill. We have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Now we're going to move to item number 6. And Sally and Bill, as we customarily do at these meetings, I'm going to have each of you read the resolutions. So, Sally, if you'd like to start with number 6 and 7.
Yes, well, number 6, we are considering taking action to approve a resolution to confirm the town's commitment to fair housing. And I will read the fair housing resolution, Town of North Haven, in item 7 of the agenda. Whereas all persons are afforded a right to full and equal housing opportunities in the neighborhood of their choice, and federal fair housing laws require that all individuals, regardless of race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familiar status, or national origin, be given equal access to all housing-related opportunities, including rental and home ownership opportunities, and be allowed to make free choices regarding housing location. And Connecticut fair housing laws require that all individuals, regardless of race, creed, color, national origin, ancestry, sex, marital status, age, lawful source of income, family status, learning disability, physical or mental disability, sexual orientation, be given equal access to all housing-related opportunities, including rental and home ownership opportunities, and be allowed to make free choices regarding housing location. And the Town of North Haven is committed to upholding these laws and realizes that these laws must be supplemented by an affirmative statement publicly endorsing the right of all people to full and equal housing opportunities in the neighborhood of their choice. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Town of North Haven hereby endorses a fair housing policy to ensure equal opportunity for all persons to rent, purchase, obtain financing, and enjoy all other housing-related services of their choice on a non-discriminatory basis as provided by state and federal law. And be it further resolved that the Chief Executive Officer of the Town of North Haven or his designated representative is responsible for responding to and assisting any person who alleges to be the victim of an illegal discriminatory housing practice in the Town of North Haven, and for advising such person of the right to file a complaint with the State of Connecticut Commission on Human Rights and Opportunities, CHRO, or the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, or to seek assistance from the Connecticut Fair Housing Center, Legal Services, or other fair housing organizations to protect his or her right to equal housing opportunities. I will move both resolutions as read.
All right. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'll second Sally's motion.
All right. And
I had it on, I'm sorry, I had it on mute for a second, so, so I could make sure I heard Sally well. So I apologize. I seconded it twice, once that you could hear, once you couldn't.
Okay. And ladies and gentlemen watching, this is a customary thing we do every year in compliance with the Department of Housing at the state level. And Ed Swinkowski is my designee on this, and we've been doing this for years. So thank you for the motion. Thank you for the second. We'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye.
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 All right. William, I'm going to have you do the next set of paragraphs.
Thank you, Mike. Item number 8 is consider and take possible action to approve a resolution to confirm commitment participation in Hasway Central, the South Central Connecticut Regional Water Authority's Regional Household Hazardous Waste Collection Center. Resolution confirming, item number 9 is, that follows that is resolution confirming commitment and participation in a regional household hazardous waste collection center. Whereas the South Central Connecticut Regional Water Authority, agent for the South Central Regional Council of Governments and participating municipalities, has undertaken the permitting, construction, and operation of a regional facility for the collection of household hazardous waste, and conditionally exempt small quantity generator business waste at its headquarters at 90 Sergeant Drive in New Haven. And whereas the municipalities participating in the facility are able to have residents drop off their household hazardous waste on Saturday mornings, 9 a.m. to noon, and conditionally exempt small quantity generators delivery business waste on Saturday morning by appointment from 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m., from spring through fall for proper processing, transportation, and disposal. Whereas the facility is owned, managed, and operated under the supervision of the South Central Regional Water Authority for the benefits of the participating municipalities. Now therefore be it resolved by the Town of North Haven that the Town of North Haven declares its commitment to continue participation in the Regional Household Hazardous Waste Collection Center for a minimum 3-year period, July 1, 2020 through June 30th, 2023, and confirms its intent to contribute financially for the operation, processing, transportation, and disposal of household hazardous waste. The Town of North Haven authorized its first selectman to enter an agreement with the South Central Regional Water Authority for the operation of the facility. Such agreement will permit the authority to act as agent to maintain the facility, to contract with a vendor for the transportation and disposal of the waste, to receive financial support from grant sources, to enter into agreements with other municipalities, and to operate the facility. This resolution shall be effective July 1, 2020 through June 30th, 2023. So as Sally did with her resolutions, I'll move that this resolution be, I'll make a motion to move this resolution as I've actually read it.
Okay. Is there a second?
I will second that.
All right. And just a brief explanation, this is a wonderful service that's being offered to our residents, not only here in North Haven, but also the surrounding communities. And it's something that the RWA has done for several years. And for those that remember and for those that have utilized this service, you can bring old paint there, pesticides, all types of chemicals, and it's a one-stop repository to take all those items in your homes or your garages or your sheds down to the RWA. So it's a wonderful thing. So we have a motion, we have a second, and we'll call for that vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, Sally, I'm going to ask you to read the next set of paragraphs.
Yes. Number 10, in accordance with the State of Connecticut Governor Ned Lamont's Executive Order 7I, paragraph 13, dated March 21st, 2020, consider and vote upon a resolution authorizing the Board of Finance as the town's budget-making authority to adopt a budget for the July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021 fiscal year, and to set a mill rate sufficient to pay the town's expenses for said fiscal year. Number 11, I'll read the resolution. Resolved that in accordance with the State of Connecticut Governor Ned Lamont's Executive Order 7I, paragraph 13, dated March 21st, 2020, the Board of Selectmen authorizes the Board of Finance as the town's budget-making authority to adopt a budget for the July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021 fiscal year, and to set a mill rate sufficient to pay the town's expenses for said fiscal year.
Okay, before we get into a motion in a second, I just want to explain to our viewing audience that earlier this afternoon, I took our viewing audience through exactly the process again. On May 14th, I will be here presenting the budget. Our Superintendent, Patrick Stirk, will be presenting the Board of Ed budget from a remote location. On our website, there's an email address, there's a phone number for your questions, and the questions and emails must be submitted by the close of business on May 12th. All of the questions will be read, and the person will be identified if they leave their name, and then we will answer all the questions that night on TV. And it's a kind of a unique experience for us. So I'll be replicating what I would normally do at the high school, but I'll be here alone doing it with the budget on the screens. And Patrick then will be zoomed in also from another location presenting the BOE budget. And this is all prior to the Board of Finance meeting and the resolution that Sally Buemi just read. So with that being said, can I entertain a motion?
I'll make the motion as read.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second Sally's motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We covered the discussion with the overview of this. All those in favor?
Well, I'd like to add in some discussion, if I may.
Sure.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask about, you said that people could either email or phone in their questions.
Yes.
By March 12th. And I assume, is the phone for those folks who don't have email or internet?
Say again, Sally, it's May 12th, not March 12th, but say that again.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say March?
Yes.
Excuse me. I was looking at the agenda, which says...
Okay.
May 12th is the deadline for submitting questions for you
Yes.
to answer at your presentation
Yes.
On May 14th, right?
Yes.
And you're providing email and a phone number.
Yes.
So I assume the phone number is for folks who don't have email or internet.
It could be used that way. People could use all of the options, but the phone number is designed to have a voicemail set up so that the questions can be left, and then we, of course, will answer them and restate them.
Right. I think this is, a very important process, and I agree with you, Michael, that, it's an unusual situation. We are trying to replicate as best we can in accordance with the governor's initial executive order 7I, subsection 13, where he said that we had to, provide an email account and access, or some sort of way for the folks to provide questions and feedback about the budget. And then, of course, in Executive Order 7HH, which amended Section 13 of 7I, he again emphasized that all conditions, I'm reading from the executive order, all conditions precedent to any adoption, meaning of the budget, shall proceed in a manner as closely consistent with the applicable statutes, town charters, or whatnot. So, this is an essential process that we are affording our folks so that they could participate in the budgetary process, which, of course, with this pandemic, we can't have a referendum, we can't have a public hearing or a budget town meeting. So I agree that we are doing our best to replicate the back and forth, if you will, by you offering these phone numbers. But for folks that don't have internet access, we do have charter provisions that say that 5 days before the public hearing and 5 days before the budget town meeting, that copies of the budget would be made available at the town hall. Now, I know that the town hall is closed, but for those that don't have computers, and there are plenty of folks that don't, that's why I asked if the phone number was for those folks. Do you think it would be prudent to have some books available, maybe at the police station or in a box outside the police station, where folks who can't look at the budget online because they don't have access and they don't want to go to someone else's house because of the restrictions of social distancing and all of that, do you think it might be prudent to offer a mechanism for making paper budget books available?
Yes.
So that's my first question.
Let me answer that. I think that's a good question. We could do that. And one of the things that maybe we could do, for those watching on TV here tonight, and maybe Valerie can put this on the website, for those that would be interested in receiving a hard copy of that budget, that's a good way to get us as close as we can to replicate what the previous budget presentations would have been in past years. So if we can do that, people can call us at Town Hall, and if they would like that we could have something outside the front door, a box with budget books in, that during the day they could stop by, park across the street, walk through the crosswalk, and pick up a hard copy of that budget. I'd be more than happy to do that.
I think that's a great idea. Not only for those who don't have access to look at the budget online, but also, a lot of the pages, which are very long pages of number after number, especially the Board of Ed pages, they're sideways. They're a little tough to read, and sometimes especially for old-timers like myself, having a paper book in hand is just a better way. So I appreciate your acknowledgement of my idea to try to make books available again in our effort to replicate as best we can the normal budgetary process, especially this year where the folks are not utilizing their legislative authority through the referendum.
And I'll take that a step further, too, because let's say that hypothetically there is someone that doesn't have transportation that can't get to the town hall but would like a budget book. I will make arrangements to have the budget book dropped in their mailbox wherever they live.
That's fantastic. I know this might not reach a lot of people, but sometimes, looking back and knowing that we did everything we could to honor not only the spirit of our charter, but the governor's original executive order and his May 1st supplemental orders, 7HH, which strongly urges us to replicate the process as best we can. I think we'll look back and say we did what we could.
Yes. So we'll do that. And for those watching, please call us, email us, and we will take care of that. Now, Sally, you had another thought or question you were leading to.
I did. I had one other thing, again, toward the same line of as you so eloquently put, trying to replicate as best we can the budgetary process. You know, the normal process is the public hearing. You know, folks come in. There's books outside the auditorium, and you present the town side. Of course, the superintendent, the Board of Ed side, and a lot of people, you know, listen to your presentation and look at the slides that you show rather than actually reading the book. Because, again,
Yes.
it can be difficult to follow the very long budget book. And they think of their questions right there and then.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's great that you're offering this phone number and email opportunity for people to ask questions in advance. I think it will help facilitate a smooth May 14th presentation of the budget for you and for Superintendent Stirk. But is there any way, because I've looked at what other towns are doing, is there any way that folks could call in live on May 14th with follow-up questions? Some towns are doing this. I know this is a lot to ask at this late date, but I'm just throwing it out there. Is there any way that people could call in during that May 14th presentation live and ask questions?
You know,
Or follow-up questions or clarifications?
you know, and I'm going to share something with the audience who doesn't know what happened earlier. We had a situation, ladies and gentlemen, where one of our board members had a tough time calling in. So I hate to raise the bar of expectation, and then there's some sort of technological deficiency that may exist that night where people can't call in live. So we'll look at that, Sally. But I'm more concerned with people who we say we can do it, and then the experience you had trying to dial in earlier. That's what I would try to avoid.
Yeah, I understand, and yes, there was, but you know, we have a very unique number to call, and there was some technical difficulty with the number or the PIN number. I don't know. I could remember watching programs on NHTV 25 years ago where people had TV shows and there was a call in live, and you know. So, you know, I'm just throwing that out there, again, in an effort to best replicate, as you said, the process. If it can't be done, fine, but I just wanted to throw that idea out there. Thank you.
All right. I keep an open mind to all the suggestions, Sally, Bill, ladies and gentlemen, so we will take that under guidance and see what we can do. All right.
And I just have a final comment before voting. I'm sorry. Did you have more to say, Michael?
Bill wanted to interject. Bill.
Oh, yes.
And those are all, you know, just to maybe go back to the, you know, I think the beginning of the conversation, you know, where we've talked about, for people who do have online access, they can go to the town website. It's right on the first page of the website at the bottom, where where the budget is, and I'm looking at it right now. It's one of the advantages of being able, you know, to maybe doing it remotely is I can see things online, you know, but it does, right in the center of our webpage, it does say proposed budget, you know, revised 5/4/20, and it does have via email. The email is questions@northaven.ctt.gov, you know, and then it also has the voicemail number 203-234-1076 if people have questions. So you know, definitely, you know, to go back, and those are all good suggestions by Mike and Sally if you need a copy and don't have access. But for those that do, it's really right in the first page of the town's website, right at the bottom, where you can get it if you do want to get it online.
Yep.
Right. Well, I really wasn't questioning that. I do realize that it's there. I've seen it there, and as I said, I think it's great that the phone number and the email are available in advance with that May 12th cutoff. I was just asking about live on air May 14th for follow-up questions. But, you know, as, again, that extra step to replicating the actual public hearing where there is a back and forth possible between the citizens and the first selectman and or the superintendent. But, you know, I understand technical difficulties. I just remember, years ago, people were able to call in live and ask questions. It was a sports show, I remember, that I used to call in myself with, Mike, how I like sports.
Yep.
So I thought if it was possible 25 years ago, why couldn't it be possible now? But again, I appreciate you listening, and I certainly know that you respect my suggestion, and I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. All right, so do we have a motion on that resolution?
Yeah, I did have one final thing I wanted to say on this resolution before we vote.
Sure.
And again, we are voting on a resolution to authorize the Board of Finance as our budget-making authority to adopt the budget. I think that's an awesome responsibility for our 7 members of the Board of Finance. Normally, as you know, Michael and Bill, the Board of Finance recommends a budget that is adopted or not adopted at referendum by our legislative body, the people of North Haven. Our budget town meeting is always adjourned to a referendum, and this year, because of the pandemic, probably for the first time in I don't know when, as far as the history of the town, the budget is being decided by the 7 members of our Board of Finance, and I think it's an awesome responsibility for them, and I hope that they will look very closely at this budget. It is primarily, with the exception of one very small change, it's primarily the budget that was put together back in early March before we really had a sense of what was going on with the COVID-19 and the pandemic and its long-term consequences, financial or otherwise. And so I'm hopeful that the Board of Finance will consider making some additional cuts, and that they will consider the long-term financial consequences of the pandemic, which certainly were not under consideration at the time this budget was originally put together in March. And that's all that I wanted to say. Thank you.
Okay. All right, a motion to accept the resolution.
Yeah, we already moved and seconded. So Are
Okay.
you asking for a vote?
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes. All right, item number 12, we'll turn this one over to Bill as following Sally on 11. Go ahead, Bill.
I'll make a motion to appoint Richard Monaco, 23 Sachem Drive, as treasurer for the term to expire December 5th, 2021.
All right, so let me, for the audience's sake, and then we'll have the Board of Selectmen weigh in on this. So the Board of Finance, by town charter, had to appoint an interim town treasurer when our town treasurer, Lori Jean Hannon, became the one of the registrars. So now, according to the procedures of the government, after a 60-day period, the Board of Selectmen has to vote to have, in this case, the proposal is Rich Monaco, to fill the unexpired term, which ends a year from this November. After the unexpired term, then the party for whom is in office has to have a candidate that would go and run for election for the position. The Board of Selectmen tonight, ladies and gentlemen watching on TV, are proposing for us to vote that Rich continues the unexpired term. Now, if the Board of Selectmen votes on Mr. Monaco, who, in my humble opinion, is the best person for the interim job as the treasurer, he's been the chairman of the Board of Finance, he's actively involved with us on the pensions and the insurance, so he understands the town finances. But if and when we vote tonight, then Mr. Monaco, as chairman of the Board of Finance, will not be accepting a salary. So I have to point that out. When this fiscal year starts, So that's the way this would work. And it's really a vote to fill an unexpired term which ends November of 2021. All right, I'll open it up for discussion.
Well, first, the appointment says December 5th, 2021.
Yeah, what I was referring to, Sal, the elections would be like November 4th or 5th, but
when
yes.
you said that someone from the same party will run, well, in the November 2021 municipal election, most likely a Democrat and a Republican will run for the office of treasurer, as they usually do.
Yes, whoever that political party is, right.
Yeah, this is and according to Section 205, subsection A2, you said that the Board of Finance had to appoint an interim treasurer. It says that the board, for the treasurer or the tax collector, but we're only concerned about the treasurer. For a vacancy in the town treasurer, the Board of Finance may appoint one of its members as acting treasurer to serve until the Board of Selectmen has made an appointment to the office, which, according to 205A, we must do within 60 days.
60 days,
and certainly at the February Board of Finance meeting, the Board of Finance did appoint one of its members, namely Chairman Monaco, as the interim treasurer. I guess that provision is in the charter in case during that 60-day period something is necessary to be signed or done or whatever. That the town treasurer has a lot of different duties, but now it's time for us as the Board of Selectmen, pursuant to 205A, to fill the position permanently until the current term expires, December 5th, 2021. And I have a problem with this. And again, it has absolutely nothing to do with Richard Monaco. Personally, I think I agree with you. He's qualified for the position. He's been a great, dedicated public servant on the Board of Finance for over 10 years, serving as chairman, I think, for about 10 years. My problem is page elsewhere in the charter, namely Chapter 5, which is the first Selectmen chapter. On page 20, there is Section 503A and B, which talks about absences in the first Selectmen position for any reason, absence or disability, and how that first Selectman position is filled. And it says that the town treasurer, the chairman of the Board of Finance, and an acting first selectman, so that's three people, the town treasurer, the chairman of the Board of Finance, and acting first selectman will fill the vacancy in the first selectman position by a majority vote. And so I think that, so Section 503A and B talk about the town treasurer and the chairman of the Board of Finance both voting to fill a vacancy in the first selectman office under different circumstances. So I think that these provisions of our charter presume that the town treasurer and the chairman of the Board of Finance are different people. Otherwise, if you have three people voting and two of them are the same person, I don't know how you could have a majority vote. Unless, you're giving actually Mr. Monaco two votes. I did try when I read the agenda when it was sent to me yesterday. I did reach out to the town attorney to ask for an opinion on this. I didn't get an answer. I asked again today. I kept checking my emails up till about 10 minutes to 7 tonight with no response. I do believe that because of this provision of the charter, Mr. Monaco cannot serve, even though he's not taking a salary, cannot serve as both treasurer and chairman of the Board of Finance. So I would either ask that we table this until we get a legal opinion. In fact, I will make a motion to table this appointment. We do have 60 days from the effective date of his appointment, which was March 17th, according to the minutes of the Board of Finance meeting. Minutes of the February Board of Finance meeting. He did not assume his position as interim treasurer until March 17th. So we still have 10 days within our 60 days to make an appointment. So I will make a motion to table this appointment.
Sally, to your point about contacting the town attorney, as you know, we have 3 town attorneys, Bill Ryan on the labor side, Jennifer Coppola, and Jeffrey D'Onofrio from Seal to D'Onofrio. Jeff has weighed in on this multiple times. In fact, we have a email from him that we can certainly send to you. Jeff, who has over 25 years of municipal experience, feels that this can be done and there's no conflict.
Well, he might have been thinking about the conflict with financial, which was another issue I was going to raise, but now that you're telling me that he's not taking the salary, that removes that issue. I don't know if they were also contemplating Section 503 of the Charter.
Bill, we heard Sally's opinion. How do you see this?
I'm looking at, I have the charter up online.
Do you see page 20, what I'm talking about, Bill?
Oh yeah, I do. If I count the number of people that would be involved, it would be the, treasurer and the chairman of the Board of Finance, which could be 2 people, and then the other selectmen, which would be you and I. So
well, that's for A. Look at B. And that is to fill the empty position created, and it says the first selectman position shall be filled by a majority vote of the town treasurer, the chairman of the Board of Finance, and the acting first selectman. That is only 3 people.
Right.
And Mr. Monaco, if we approve his appointment, would be 2 out of those 3. Do you see that in section B on page 20?
So I think you're worried. So if I read B correctly, if you go back to B, you're worried that there'd only be one. Again, you've got 2 people still. You got the acting first selectman and the town treasurer, chairman of the Board of Finance.
That's 3 people.
But you 2 would make a quorum. If you go back over to like today, when I looked under first selectman, the office of first selectman, any 2 selectmen make a quorum. So if you use that rationale, we would only need 2 people in that regard as well to have a quorum. You wouldn't have one person, you'd have 2.
A quorum is what's necessary for a valid meeting under freedom of information. This is not a freedom of information issue. This is filling a vacancy on the Board of Selectmen. And it says it will be
for instance, for today's meeting, if you were not available today, we could have had the meeting with just Mike and I, and had a meeting with valid votes all day long. If we could not get you on the phone, I checked that out in terms of the charter today. So my argument
that's
is
absolutely
that
right.
as long as we have 2 people,
This has nothing to do with a meeting. This has to do with filling. What I'm saying is there is a provision in our charter.
You have to have 3 people. If you have 2 people voting, that would be a majority of the 3. So I'm not following you. I think in terms of, I think you're looking at an eventuality beyond, 2 steps removed. From what we're talking about.
What I'm looking at is a provision in our charter that assumes that the town treasurer and the chairman of the Board of Finance are different people, because it says
I think it's irrelevant based on the argument today, because if we did have that eventuality, then we could have the other option is for Mr. Monaco under that option to resign from his chairmanship under the Board of Finance, and we could have the vice chair become that. So I think you're looking at a number of contingencies that are fairly far removed from what the item under consideration is for today.
Okay, I'm just looking at a provision that
I don't agree
clearly
at all.
assumes the town treasurer and the chairman of the Board of Finance are different people, because it says those three people, the town treasurer, the chairman of the Board of Finance, and the acting first selectman, will fill the vacancy by majority vote, which means two out of three. So
that actually has to happen.
One person could make two of the. I mean, I don't know if one person is allowed to vote twice in America, but
again, I'm not worried about that, because that's an eventuality that it even happened. I mean, you have two people.
Well, no, of course. Of course, it might not happen, but that's not the point. The point is our charter.
I'd save that for a charter revision when we fix that.
But so
Okay.
Sally, but as I'm listening,
our charter is in effect right now, and until it's revised, it is
I think you're dancing on the head of a pin there, Sally, because I disagree. Like, you're just, I mean,
right.
I can make all kinds of arguments for this under the charter, under other things that we're doing.
so let me interject
We've
here.
had this come up before, so I know
Well,
there's some ambiguities
I'm
in
not
the charter.
convinced that the town attorneys have considered this rather, this particular provision. I think they were focusing more on the potential conflict regarding the salary with the chairman of the.
It's not an issue if it never happens.
Right. I agree with that 100%. What I'm saying is our charter assumes that the chairman of the Board of Finance and the town treasurer will be two different people. That's all I'm saying. And I would love to hear from Mr. D'Onofrio on this. I wrote to Jennifer Coppola because I'm used to discussing issues with with the town charter with her,
So,
and I didn't get a response.
but let me interject on this, okay? Because I'm
Sure.
I'm listening to both points of view.
Do you have page 20 in front of you, Michael, and you can see what I'm talking
No,
about?
I do. But you see, Bill just offered a solution. So in the event that I would become incapacitated, and
God forbid.
and folks, by the way, I'm watching on TV. I train, and my workouts are like I'm training for the Olympics. So I hope that doesn't happen. But in the event it does, what Bill just said, though, I may have gotten lost in the, as you two were both speaking at the same time, is we can always have the vice chair of the Board of Finance step up and have that third person.
Yeah. Okay. It doesn't say that here. Well, I just think that the town charter is pretty clear that these are supposed to be different people. And again, the fact that it has to do with the first selectman being absent or incapacitated or disabled is not really relevant. What's relevant is that it calls for three people to fill a vacancy, which is the town treasurer, the chairman of the Board of Finance, and the acting first selectman. And if you have two of those people being the same person, I think it interferes with the intent of our charter. So again, I will make a motion to table this, and you could call for a vote for the motion to table. It does not need seconding, as you know.
Well,
And my point only, Sally, was, again, if I reread the language there, a majority vote, I think elsewhere in the charter is clear that two of the three selectmen constitute a majority vote. And I think the same situation is here. A majority vote would
there's not two of the three selectmen here. There's just one selectman, a treasurer, and a Board of Finance chairman. Those are the three people that vote in this circumstance.
It doesn't say that person, if they are the same person, have two votes.
So two of the
Say you have
three
only
are
two
the
people,
same
and there's
person.
only one vote each. And if they both agree, then that's accounted for elsewhere in the charter, that a majority vote could be two people if only two people are present. So I think there's clearly an intention that, elsewhere that, like I said for today's meeting, if for some reason we could never get you on and we continue to have the meeting, it would be a valid meeting with, or if I couldn't be on today as well, it would be a valid meeting with just you and Mike. If Mike became incapacitated or couldn't communicate. So, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I don't see it requiring that one person would get two votes. And again, I think we have an option to actually end up with, if we ever needed to, under that possibility, or, as Mike said, it's really probably not a probability based on, his conditioning. I think we have a way to actually deal with it if we ever have to.
See, I think we have that way. I mean, we have a way to deal with it with, in that case, Mr. Monaco, if I was incapacitated, stepping aside in the chairman of the Board of Finance position at that time, and then we have the vice chair step up, and I think that's Tim Donahue, I think. So, and, look, let's just put that aside for a second. There's really nobody right now that we'd be able to put in there. And all the signatures, not that this should come into play, but the logistical aspect of unwinding Mr. Monaco right now does cause us some issues right now. And without someone stepping in right away, we are going to be calling callable bonds. Ed and I are looking to save over $100,000 on refinancing. These all require a treasurer's signature, and we're moving forward with that in a very short future. What we're doing is we're doing things that are trying to continue to shore up the finances of this government that requires technically a treasurer to also sign. When we have our pension investments, the voluminous documents that have to be re-signed. So I think that we have a way, based on Bill's suggestion, that if in the event I become incapacitated, there is a way so that those three people still exist, with Mr. Monaco at that point stepping aside from his position, so we still allow the three people in the charter. I think we can do that. And I'm hoping, I'm addressing now Sally and Bill, the residents on TV, so we're looking at 1 year and 7 months. So I hope I don't become incapacitated in the next 1 year and 7 months.
Yeah, I would, I think, we're looking at a lot of different issues based on this pandemic that's happening right now, and I hate to again have us sometimes for an eventuality that is probably unlikely to happen, and to which there may be a solution if we actually believe we should have three people versus two making a decision. It seems like, again, we should move forward on this instead of, having things grind to a halt, like you said, in terms of any bonding or whatever, because I think we've got more important, that we've got very important things on the agenda, including like the budget, the budget that we've got coming up, and as Sally said earlier, that's really unusual and that it's not going to be subject to a referendum. We did that special town meeting. We did that. I think we offered, that the ability to maybe delay payment of taxes. So I think there's just a lot of things on the table right now, and it just seems like it makes the most sense to move forward and maybe further look at this down the road.
So, Sally, to sum both sides of the conversation up, we would have a solution on the back end in the event that Michael Frieda becomes incapacitated. But without Mr. Monaco in place now, there's no solution, and it could grind everything to a halt. Any other comments? Sally, you're still there?
Did we lose her?
Let's see. Sally, are you back? Might have lost Ms. Boemi. This is what I was speaking about earlier, ladies and gentlemen. Even having a live call-in, managing the incoming calls, it would be difficult. And this was one of the things that we're concerned with. And by the way, these are happening, these situations, and I can tell you this as president of Connecticut Conference of Municipalities, these technical difficulties are happening across the whole state in terms of cities and towns. So we'll try to get Ms. Boemi back.
It says the call is still connected.
Hmm.
Should I try to redial her? Sally? Says we're connected.
We'll just wait a few minutes, see if we can get Sally back. Bill, it would seem to me your suggestion there is really the suggestion, and I thought it was a good suggestion. And we'll see what Sally has to say when she comes back on this. But when we have a back-end solution, that's a firm solution. Without a front-end solution, like we said, it could grind us to a halt temporarily here.
And this again relates to, if having a shortage of people on the, in terms of having a first selectman and two other selectmen to actually fill it out till one or till at least the first selectman returns.
Right. And just for the viewing audience on this, the Director of Finance and Administration, day to day in town government, is the number 2 person in charge who deals with the department heads as much as I do. It's the equivalent, ladies and gentlemen, I'll take a page out of my corporate business career. Marching up through the corporate ranks, before I became president and CEO, I was executive vice president and COO. So in those years, as the COO of the company, I was responsible for all the operations of the company. So there were times when the CEO would be away, let's say, not necessarily incapacitated, but I would step up as the number 1 person, not only on the operational side, but also on the strategy side. When I became CEO, my first thing was to determine who I could put in as a strong COO, somebody that knew the day-to-day operations of the corporation. And in this model, government, Ed Swinkowski's that guy, or that person. He would know the operations of the government better than anybody with the exception of myself. And then with a strong department head team around him, the government would function in the event I became incapacitated. I do understand that there's certain compliances with the charter, but I think this is something that we can still comply with the charter through Bill Piper's suggestion and recommendation. We're still trying to see if we can get Sally. All right, what I'd like to do is, I'm going to ask NHTV to do a short recess. And then we're going to see if we can get Ms. Boemi back on the line. And then with NHTV, we will coordinate getting back here on camera, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm sorry we lost Ms. Boemi, but we will work to get her back at this meeting. So, Bill, I'm going to ask you to stay on the line, okay?
That sounds good. I will. I can stay.
All right. And NHTV, I'd like you to fade out and put a short recess, and then I'll be back to you, NHTV, to get us back once we can get Ms. Boemi back in. Thank you. Christ, we're violating all kinds of social distancing here tonight. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have Ms. Boemi back on the line, and apparently, Sally, your phone service went out at your house.
Well, my internet and phone are connected, and they both went dead while we were discussing Mr. Monaco's appointment. I guess there are forces in the world that don't like my position.
No.
So,
No.
this has been a challenge.
I know.
They go on April 22nd so smoothly.
I know.
So I do understand Bill's point about in this remote chance. Again, I'm not talking about what will happen if, I'm talking about our town charter seems to assume that the treasurer and the chairman of the Board of Finance are two different people.
Right.
That's all. So I made a motion to table this, so you could call for a vote on my motion to table, and I think we could then proceed.
All right. I'm going to tell you in advance, Sally, I respect your opinions. I can't go along with you on this, but we're going to call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Nay.
Nay.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. So
now we can proceed
And I appreciate your opinion too, Sal. I just think it's time. I think it's just important that, as I was trying to say, maybe not as well as I could have, that we do need to move it forward, and I think Mike made a very good case for that based on, these extraordinary times.
all right. Now, Sally, you started to say
Again,
something.
This personal against Mr. Monaco. He is a dedicated, hardworking public servant. It's my reading of the charter that is the basis for my position.
Okay. Very good. All right.
So you could call for a vote on Bill's motion to appoint
Okay.
Mr. Monaco as
All right.
treasurer.
So we'll call for that vote. All those in favor?
Second, Bill motion.
Okay, Bill motioned, I'm seconding it. All right, so we'll call for that vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Okay, thank you, Sally.
No
All right.
problem.
So, as always, we appreciate your points of view, but let's move forward. So, item number 13, Sally, you're up on that.
Yes, I will move that we approve the property tax refunds reflected in item number 13 for both April 2020 and the list for May 2020. I will make that motion.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. So we're at item number 11, the next meeting of the Board of Selectmen. Ladies and gentlemen watching on TV, it's Thursday, June 4th, here at North Haven's Town Hall. And the location and the manner in which we deliver and present that meeting is still to be determined as we are here this evening on May 7th. Okay. Item number 12, a motion to adjourn.
Before we adjourn, I'd like to make a statement about Memorial Day. If I can, it'll only be about a minute. Is that possible, please?
Of course, go right ahead.
Yes. The Memorial Day parade this year is canceled.
Yeah.
That is correct, right?
Yes, based on the recommendation from the veterans, yes.
Yes, I agree 100% with that decision, that we have to cancel it. But that doesn't take away from the sadness for me personally. My dad, as you know, was a World War II veteran. We never missed a parade as a family since 1960 in North Haven, and even though my dad has passed, we still maintain the tradition of going to every Memorial Day parade. Now, tomorrow is May 8th, 2020, which is the 75th anniversary of VE Day, Victory in Europe, which was the beginning of the end of World War II. There were still a few more months to go in the Pacific, which is where my dad was fighting. But tomorrow, it's a very big day, the 75th anniversary of VE Day, and I'm sure that would not for this pandemic, there would be major ceremonies and celebrations throughout the world, especially in sacred places like Normandy. You might recall, Michael, that back in 2015, it was the 70th anniversary of the end of World War II, and I initiated and enjoyed your full support, which I very much appreciated. I initiated and planned a special recognition in the Memorial Day Parade that year for North Haven surviving World War II veterans, and we had 11 World War II veterans participate, including my dad and Howard Loopy, a former state rep and Board of Selectmen member. And these 11 veterans were driven in 6 open cars at the beginning of the 2015 Memorial Day Parade, and they just had the best time. And the applause that they received as they came around the green was deafening. Most of those 11 veterans that participated in that parade in 2015 have passed away since that great day in that parade, including my dad and Mr. Loopy. So, Michael, in honor of the 75th anniversary of the end of World War II, and because there will be no parade this year, I respectfully ask that you utilize your powers, the powers of your office, to perhaps convince NHTV to rebroadcast the 2015 parade, which highlights our World War II veterans, during this year's Memorial Day weekend. I think that would be a nice way to honor the 75th by showing what we did in 2015 for the 70th anniversary, and it would be nice to have something on NHTV since we don't have our parade. And so I make that request of you respectfully. Thank you.
You have my commitment. We will do that. I think that's an outstanding suggestion. And you know, Sally,
You remember that day, don't you, Michael?
I could still see your wonderful father as we congregated up on the town showmobile. Your father and the veterans were sitting in front of me as I was delivering a speech, and I can still see your dad there sitting down, and how proud he was.
It was thrilling for him because you guys had put out nice chairs with nice cushiony chairs.
Yes.
With blankets. There were even for that. It was a little chilly that day, as it is sometimes in May. And it was a great day for those 11 heroes of the greatest generation.
And Bill, I hope you don't mind me sharing the story about your beloved son, Carl. When I marched with him in the 2008 Memorial Day Parade, I was so impressed with Carl. And we spent a lot of time talking about his experiences. And sadly, Carl's no longer with us. So, Bill and Sally, I look
Thank you,
back.
Mike, for remembering that. And Sally, I really appreciate over the years what you share. What you shared with me regarding your father's service too, because he had.
Yeah. Yes.
He was a good
you
soldier.
as well, Bill. You're a West Point guy. But one thing my father always impressed upon me, which I hope that young people could understand, the difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day. Memorial Day is a remembrance of the approximate 1.3 million veterans who died fighting for our country, as opposed to Veterans Day, which honors the tens of millions of veterans who have served our country. And when my father took us to Memorial Day Parade, he always impressed that distinction. He always said picnics and hot dogs, fun and games are fine, but just remember what this day, Memorial Day, is really about. So I hope that young people could have that same recognition of the importance of Memorial Day. And so without a parade this year, I appreciate, Michael, your promise to do what you can to rebroadcast that 2015 Memorial Day Parade. Thank you.
We will do that. On a personal note, I just want to reiterate now that we've entered into this discussion as we move to close the meeting, I look back with a great deal of fondness on Sally, your beloved father, and Bill, your beloved son, Carl. And
Wonderful.
I have very, very fond memories of my interactions with both of them. And although they are departed, they will never be forgotten, at least in my mind.
Right. And
Thank you,
before
Mike.
we act on our motion to adjourn, perhaps you could tell the folks what we are going to do
Yes.
for Memorial Day.
So I've been in close contact, Sally and Bill, and our North Haven residents, with the leaders of the American Legion. And as you heard, they recommended we cancel the parade. They wanted me to make the final decision, which I did. But we're going to be doing a small ceremony on the green. And we're already planning this. I've had shipped hundreds of masks to the American Legion Hall. And my plan would be, in working with them, that anybody who comes on the green for that Memorial Day ceremony, a ceremony by the monuments, will be issued a mask. I will ensure that Public Works has the chairs properly spaced, even more than the 6-foot social distancing, and we will have some strict protocols there in terms of not violating that social distancing that is so critical, and what I've been saying in my updates here every month. This, ladies and gentlemen, represents a balance, because we've lost veterans even this past year, and the veterans want to acknowledge those who have passed by ringing the bell on the green by the monuments. So I'm going to do everything I can to honor their request, but also ensure that the people there, many of whom will be senior citizens, are totally safe. And the masks are the key thing. And I'm going to even see if I can get gloves there for the people. So, and the chairs will be properly spaced. Bill and Sally, what do you think about that?
Well, I commend your initiative and your determination, Michael. I think it's great. And again, I agree that the parade had to be canceled, and your initiative to go forward with this ceremony and taking all of these steps for safety shows how much you value the importance of recognizing veterans, and you know I do too. You and I have been to many veterans events together over the past 7 years. So I appreciate it, and I'm sure all the veterans do, and I commend you for your superb effort in this regard.
I'll be talking to North Haven TV tomorrow about planning that to replay the 2015 Memorial Day Parade.
Thank you. And you know, you should watch it, Michael, because we were way behind the World War II veterans who led the parade, and we sort of missed the unbelievable reception that they got when they came around the green, because we were way back there. So I don't know if you've ever watched a taping of it, so I encourage you not only to get it on the air, but to watch it.
All right, thank you.
I'm looking forward to seeing it again too, because you can't. It's always hard too. Like I think you both indicated. We've done this for a number of years, individually, where we've marched in the parade or been in the parade. I think back to when I was involved with Little League and girls softball and all those other times. And the years all kind of blend together. So it's a very good suggestion. I think it'll be fun to watch the 2015 one. I was thinking, Jay, it'd be even fun to watch one from even earlier, if they had more, if they put a couple of them on. So that's a great idea, though, Sally.
Yes, Bill, thank you. And I think, Bill, your son would be very happy that we're making this extra effort, this difficult year. I mean, what we're going through with this pandemic, I think your son would appreciate our extra efforts and Mr. Frieda's efforts to still put together a decent gathering and memorial, which is certainly appropriate, and your son would appreciate that very much.
And we have to thank the American Legion too for championing, this as an alternative. And Mike, I think the plan is to do it on May 23rd, on Saturday, May 23rd.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah. Very good.
All right. Well,
okay.
I just noticed my internet and phone are working again. So again, my apologies not only to you fine gentlemen, but to the folks at home for that delay.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. So we'll motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Sally.
All right,
So I'll make a motion to adjourn.
okay.
I'll second.
Second. Thank you very much. Meeting's adjourned, and ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next month. Thank you, Sally and Bill. Thank you, North Haven residents.
Good night, Sally and
Bye.
Mike.
Good night, everybody.
The preceding program is brought to you in part through a grant from the Town of North Haven. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at nhtv.com.